Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and I am a fourth year foundation-based student here in South Africa, and today we are going to talk about lesson planning and time management. So as many of you are probably going out for practical, you're kind of stressing out about time management. Am I going to fit all my lessons in? And how do I even plan a lesson? I understand the feeling. I'm likely going through the same thing when you're watching this, but here are a little bit of tips and tricks of how to approach it and to be successful. First things first, you want to consider how many lessons you are going to do throughout the whole of practical. Make sure that you plan accordingly. Ask the teacher for the dates beforehand and make sure that you stick to those dates as far as possible. So if you say on the 15th of April, I am going to do a home language English lesson, then stick to that. Do your home language English lesson on the 15th of April. That way you know you get all your lessons done. Secondly, time management within your lesson as you're presenting it. Remember, you don't have the world's time to make sure that your lesson is executed properly. You need to be adaptable during the lesson, and you need to make sure that you cover the whole concept within the time allocated. So for example, if you have a listening and speaking lesson, it's only realistically going to be 15 minutes long because the CAPS document only gives you an hour per week to do listening and speaking. Listening and speaking does, however, only make up a certain part of home language, and home language lessons tend to be 90 minutes long altogether, but that can be broken up according to how the teacher's daily program works. You just have to figure that out and ask how that works. But just make sure that when you are giving a lesson, you give yourself enough time to complete it and for it to be successful. So now you're probably wondering, but Emily, how do I even go about planning a lesson in the first place? So number one, a lesson always has an intro, a middle, and an end. Exactly like an essay, it's always going to have an introduction. Introductions to lessons can be a game, it can be a poem, it can be a song, it can be literally anything that is exciting and is going to engage the learners. So again, if we're talking about listening and speaking and our theme is transport, you might play a game that has something to do with transport. You might have to invent a new game, or you might have to sing a song, you can say a poem, you can do a reward system. Let me tell you, those work really well. So you can have the same type of reward system over and over again. Each team that answers a question correctly, each team, you do it in teams, you can do it individually, you can do each team that is well behaved, each team that sticks their hand up, for example, then they get added a little car or a little truck or whatever to their team, and each truck is a point, and the one with the most points get to line up for break first. And it's just something so simple but so engaging and so exciting. An intro really only takes 5 minutes max. An intro, you're probably going to do a bit of revision as well. Normally when you play a game or whatever it is, try and stick to the theme, but also bring revision into it as far as possible. Now you move on to the middle, which is your main concept that you are working with. So this differs between maths, language, and life skills. You just have to make sure that you follow the CAPS document. So again, if we are talking about listening and speaking, your main component might just be asking questions about a picture. But make sure that these questions are age appropriate, make sure that they are relevant to what you are talking about, and make sure that they are on different difficulty levels of what they need to be answering. Listening and speaking is a good example, but not the best example when it comes to teaching a concept. But make sure that when you are teaching the concept, you aren't doing something so extremely extravagant that you completely lose them with the extravagance and they're not really understanding the core concept that you're trying to explain to them. So keep it simple, but keep it fun. You kind of have to come up with your own ideas in concepts because it literally changes with every subject. It changes with every theme that you're doing every 2 weeks. It's just, that middle part has to be your baby, but just make sure that it's not too much, that you're not relaying too much information, but that you also aren't babying them or spoon feeding them. Make sure that you are getting the concept across concretely, semi-concrete, and then abstract. So you need to kind of cover all those bases in the middle of your lesson. So listening and speaking wouldn't really be a good example of one of these lessons because it doesn't really have a concrete, semi-concrete, abstract type of vibe. But like if we're looking at a maths lesson, even though maths lessons have a little bit of different components in it, it has that core, the core. I'm not sure if that even makes sense. And then lastly, you have your outro, your exit, your conclusion, whatever you call it, you have that. So ideally, you would go over overview, a quick overview of what you've just done. Please don't re-give the whole lesson at the end. Ask maybe 2 or 3 questions about what specific things about the concept that you have just taught. For the conclusion, you can also re-say the poem. You can sing the song again. Maybe you can play the game again if you have enough time, if you've managed your time right. Remember that your activity at the end, so your worksheet at the end, is probably going to fall under your conclusion, if not at the very, very end of your middle of the lesson. So you are going to bring the whole lesson together by asking a few questions. You're going to revisit the reward system if that is what you have in place. You're going to quickly revise what you went through, and then the lesson is finished. And then you move on to what's next. So I really do hope that this video was helpful. Please remember to keep all your lessons age appropriate and make sure to kind of really observe what level your class is on when you start practical, to make sure that your lessons aren't too easy or too difficult when you do start to plan them. If you enjoyed this video and it was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel, and don't forget to subscribe and share it with your teacher besties. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!